You know what blows my mind? Right now, somewhere in rural Japan, there's a Toyota Hilux with over 800,000 miles on it, still running like it rolled off the factory floor yesterday. And in America, there's a Lexus LS 400 that crossed 900,000 miles without a single major engine repair. Meanwhile, your neighbor's car is falling apart at 120,000 miles. What's the difference? It's not luck, it's not magic. It's a Japanese maintenance philosophy that most Western car owners completely ignore. And today, I'm going to break down exactly what this trick is and how you can use it to make your Toyota or Lexus last over 500,000 miles. So, if you want your car to outlive your mortgage, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're diving deep into automotive longevity secrets that dealerships don't want you to know. Let's start with the foundation. The Japanese approach to car maintenance isn't about fixing things when they break. It's about preventing them from breaking in the first place. This philosophy is called preventative maintenance culture, and it's ingrained in Japanese society from childhood. In Japan, car owners don't wait for the check engine light. They don't push oil changes to the limit. They follow a strict, almost religious adherence to maintenance schedules. But here's where it gets interesting. They don't just follow the manufacturer's recommended intervals. They actually service their vehicles more frequently than the manual suggests. Think about that. While American owners are stretching their oil changes to 10,000 miles because the manual says it's okay, Japanese owners are changing oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles regardless. Why? Because they understand something crucial. Those manual recommendations are minimums, not ideals. They're designed for warranty compliance, not maximum longevity. The Japanese trick isn't fancy, it's not expensive. It's simply this: maintain more frequently, maintain consistently, and maintain everything, not just the obvious stuff. Now, let's talk about oil changes specifically because this is where most people get it catastrophically wrong. Modern synthetic oils are incredible. They can technically last 10,000 miles or more. But here's what your manual doesn't tell you. Oil doesn't just lubricate. It cleans, it cools, it protects. And over time, even the best synthetic oil gets contaminated with combustion byproducts, moisture, fuel dilution, and microscopic metal particles. By the time you hit 10,000 miles, your oil is still slippery, sure, but it's dirty, really dirty. And dirty oil causes microscopic wear that accumulates over hundreds of thousands of miles. Japanese owners change their oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles without exception. Is it overkill? Maybe. But you know what else is overkill? A Lexus with 600,000 miles that still runs whisper quiet. That's the overkill we want. And here's a secret. The cost difference between changing oil twice as often is maybe an extra $200 a year. Compare that to a new engine at 150,000 miles, which costs $8,000. The math isn't complicated. Frequent oil changes are the single cheapest insurance policy for automotive longevity. Period. But oil is just the beginning. Let's talk about transmission fluid because this is where things get really interesting. Most manufacturers say transmission fluid is lifetime, or good for 100,000 miles. Japanese owners laugh at this. They change transmission fluid every 30,000 to 40,000 miles. Why such a massive difference? Because transmission fluid breaks down from heat and friction just like engine oil. And when it breaks down, it stops protecting those incredibly complex gears and clutch packs inside your transmission. A transmission rebuild costs anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000. A transmission fluid change costs maybe $200. Yet most people ignore it until they feel slipping or rough shifts. By then, internal damage is already done. The Japanese approach is simple. Service the transmission before it asks for help. Drain and fill, not flush. Flushing can dislodge debris and cause blockages. A simple drain and fill removes old fluid and adds fresh protective fluid without the risks. Do this every 30,000 miles and your transmission will outlast the rest of the car. I've seen it happen over and over again. Now we need to address cooling systems because this is an area where Western owners are incredibly negligent. Your engine operates at around 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The cooling system manages this heat using coolant that circulates through the engine block, radiator, and heater core. Over time, coolant degrades. The anti-corrosion additives get depleted. The fluid becomes acidic. And acidic coolant eats away at aluminum components, rubber hoses, and gaskets from the inside out. Most people never change coolant until they have an overheating problem or a leak. Japanese owners change coolant every 30,000 miles or 2 years, whichever comes first. They also inspect hoses for soft spots, cracks, or bulges. They check radiator caps for proper pressure. They ensure cooling fans operate correctly. This obsessive attention to the cooling system prevents the #1 killer of high-mileage engines, which is overheating. An overheating event, even just once, can warp cylinder heads, blow head gaskets, and cause permanent damage. Prevention costs $50 in coolant. Repair costs thousands. Again, the math is simple. Keep your cooling system fresh and your engine will reward you with hundreds of thousands of miles. Let's shift gears to spark plugs and ignition systems. Modern spark plugs can last 100,000 miles. Iridium and platinum plugs are technological marvels, but lasting 100,000 miles doesn't mean they're operating optimally for 100,000 miles. As spark plugs age, the gap widens. The electrode material erodes. The spark becomes weaker and less consistent. This causes incomplete combustion, which reduces power, increases fuel consumption, and creates carbon deposits in the combustion chamber. Japanese owners replace spark plugs every 30,000 to 50,000 miles, depending on driving conditions. They also replace ignition coils at the first sign of misfires rather than waiting for complete failure. This proactive approach keeps the engine running smoothly and prevents the cascading damage that weak ignition can cause. Carbon buildup from incomplete combustion can eventually lead to valve problems, catalytic converter failure, and sensor issues. All preventable with fresh spark plugs and healthy ignition components. It's a small investment that protects much larger systems downstream. Air filters and fuel filters are next, and these are the most neglected maintenance items on any vehicle. Your engine is basically an air pump. It sucks in air, mixes it with fuel, ignites it, and expels exhaust. Clean air is essential for proper combustion. A dirty air filter restricts airflow, which makes the engine work harder, reduces power, and can even cause the air-fuel mixture to run rich, which fouls spark plugs and creates carbon deposits. Most people check their air filter maybe once a year if they remember. Japanese owners inspect it every 5,000 miles and replace it at the first sign of dirt accumulation. Same with fuel filters. A clogged fuel filter restricts fuel flow, which can cause lean running conditions, misfires, and fuel pump strain. Replacing a fuel pump costs hundreds of dollars. Yet replacing a fuel filter costs $20. Yet people ignore fuel filters until the pump fails from overwork. The Japanese approach is to treat filters as consumables that get replaced frequently and without hesitation. Clean air and clean fuel equal clean combustion. Clean combustion equals engine longevity. It's that straightforward. Now let's talk about something most people never think about, which is brake fluid. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture from the air over time. As moisture content increases, the boiling point of brake fluid decreases. This can lead to brake fade under heavy use, and it also causes internal corrosion of brake components, including calipers, master cylinders, and ABS modules. Japanese owners flush brake fluid every 2 years without fail. They don't wait for soft pedal feel or contamination warnings. They simply replace it on schedule because they understand that the brake system is not just about stopping today. It's about maintaining optimal performance and preventing expensive component failures down the road. A brake fluid flush costs maybe $80. Replacing corroded brake calipers and lines costs hundreds per wheel. The preventative approach saves money and maintains safety. Plus, fresh brake fluid provides us better pedal feel and more consistent braking performance, which makes driving more enjoyable and predictable. Tire maintenance is another area where the Japanese philosophy shines. Most people check tire pressure maybe a few times a year. They rotate tires when they remember or when uneven wear becomes obvious. How Japanese owners check tire pressure monthly and rotate tires every 5,000 miles religiously. Proper tire pressure improves fuel economy, provides better handling, and prevents uneven wear patterns. Regular rotation ensures all 4 tires wear evenly, which maximizes tire life and maintains balanced handling characteristics. But here's the deeper insight. Uneven tire wear can indicate alignment issues, suspension problems, or worn steering components. By inspecting tires frequently, Japanese owners catch these problems early before they cause expensive damage to other systems. A worn ball joint can destroy a tire in a few thousand miles. But if you catch the ball joint early through careful tire inspection, you replace one part instead of four tires in the suspension component. This interconnected thinking, where every inspection is an opportunity to catch problems early, is the essence of the Japanese maintenance philosophy. Everything connects. Everything matters. The engine air intake and throttle body also deserve regular attention. Over time, oil vapors from the PCV system and dirt that sneaks past the air filter create buildup on the throttle body and intake valves. This buildup disrupts airflow, causes rough idle, and reduces throttle response. On direct injection engines, this problem is even worse because fuel doesn't wash over the intake valves to clean them. Japanese owners clean the throttle body and intake system every 30,000 miles. They use proper cleaners and take the time to do it right. Thus, this simple maintenance task keeps the engine breathing properly and prevents performance degradation that many people just accept as normal aging. Your engine shouldn't get sluggish and rough as it ages. If it does, it's because maintenance was deferred. A clean intake system maintains the crisp throttle response and smooth idle that the engine had when new. This isn't about restoring performance, it's about never losing it in the first place. That's the key difference in mindset. Japanese owners maintain to preserve, not to repair. Let's discuss the differential and transfer case fluids because if you have an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive Toyota or Lexus, these are critical. Differential fluid lubricates the gears that transfer power to your wheels. It operates under extreme pressure and heat. Over time, the fluid breaks down and the additives that prevent metal-to-metal contact get depleted. Most manufacturers recommend differential service at 60,000 miles or more. Japanese owners service differentials every 30,000 miles, especially if they tow or drive in severe conditions. The fluid change is simple, relatively inexpensive, and it prevents catastrophic gear failure that would cost thousands to repair. Same with transfer cases on four-wheel drive systems. These units transfer power between front and rear axles and they need clean fluid to operate reliably. Neglect these components and you'll eventually hear grinding noises, feel vibrations, or experience complete failure. Service them regularly and they'll last as long as the vehicle itself. This is especially important for trucks and SUVs that see hard use. But the Japanese understand that longevity isn't just about the engine. It's about every system working together harmoniously for the hundreds of thousands of miles. Battery and electrical system maintenance might seem minor, but it has major implications for long-term reliability. Corroded battery terminals increase electrical resistance, which makes the alternator work harder, and can cause voltage fluctuations that damage sensitive electronics. Japanese owners clean battery terminals every oil change. They check belt tension and condition to ensure the alternator operates efficiently. They test the battery annually and replace it proactively when it shows signs of weakness, rather than waiting for a no-start situation. Modern vehicles have dozens of computers and sensors that depend on clean, stable power. Voltage spikes from a failing battery or alternator can damage modules that cost hundreds or thousands to replace. Preventative electrical maintenance protects these expensive components. It also ensures reliable starting, which might seem basic but matters enormously when you're trying to reach 500,000 miles. Every failed start, every jump, every electrical issue creates stress on the system. Eliminate these problems through proactive maintenance and the entire electrical system remains healthy indefinitely. Undercarriage and rust prevention is crucial, especially if you live in areas with snow and road salt. Rust is the silent killer of otherwise healthy vehicles. Japanese owners, particularly in northern regions, wash the undercarriage regularly during winter months. Now, they inspect for rust formation and treat it immediately with rust converters or protective coatings. They pay special attention to frame rails, suspension mounting points, and brake lines. A rusted frame can total a vehicle even if the engine and transmission are perfect. Brake line rust can cause catastrophic brake failure. These aren't mechanical issues. They're environmental degradation issues that are completely preventable with regular inspection and cleaning. American owners often ignore the undercarriage until rust has already compromised structural integrity. By then, it's too late or prohibitively expensive to fix. The Japanese approach is to treat rust prevention as seriously as engine maintenance. Spray the undercarriage after every winter drive through salt. Inspect regularly. Apply protective coatings to vulnerable areas. Now, this takes time, but it costs almost nothing, and it can add decades to the vehicle's life. In northern climates, rust prevention is just as important as oil changes. Now let's talk about driving habits because maintenance alone isn't enough. How you drive dramatically impacts longevity. Japanese drivers tend to accelerate smoothly, avoid aggressive throttle applications, and allow engines to warm up before demanding full power. They don't floor it from every stoplight. They don't brake hard unless necessary. This gentle driving style reduces mechanical stress on every component from the engine and transmission to the suspension and tires. Hard acceleration increases combustion temperatures, which accelerates wear. Aggressive braking generates excessive heat, which shortens brake life and can warp rotors. Rough driving over potholes and bumps damages suspension components and wheel bearings. The Japanese philosophy extends beyond maintenance to operational care. Treat your vehicle gently, and it will respond with exceptional longevity. This doesn't mean driving slowly, it means driving smoothly. Anticipate traffic. Accelerate progressively. Brake gradually. Avoid full throttle until the engine is fully warmed. These habits cost nothing, but they can add tens of thousands of miles to component life. The synergy between excellent maintenance and careful operation is what enables those legendary high-mileage examples. Documentation is another key element that often gets overlooked. Japanese owners keep meticulous maintenance records. Every service, every fluid change, every inspection gets documented with date and mileage. This serves multiple purposes. First, it ensures nothing gets forgotten. When you have a clear record, you know exactly when the next service is due. Second, it helps identify patterns. If you notice you're adding coolant between services, documentation helps you track whether it's getting worse, which indicates a leak that needs attention. Third, comprehensive records dramatically increase resale value. A vehicle with complete service history commands premium prices because buyers can see it was properly maintained. But beyond these practical benefits, documentation creates psychological accountability. When you write down every service, you're more likely to stay on schedule. You're making a commitment to the vehicle's care. This might seem trivial, but psychological factors matter. The act of documenting creates a maintenance mindset that becomes habitual. And habits are what enable consistent care over decades and hundreds of thousands of miles. Using quality parts and fluids is non-negotiable in the Japanese approach. This doesn't mean the most expensive options. It means genuine OEM parts or quality aftermarket equivalents that meet or exceed original specifications. Japanese owners don't buy the cheapest oil filter or use bargain basement fluids. They understand that a few dollars saved on an oil filter isn't worth the risk of reduced filtration that allows contaminants to circulate through the engine. They use the correct grade and specification of fluids as called for in the owner's manual, not universal products that claim to work in everything. Every fluid and component in your vehicle was engineered to specific standards. Deviating from those standards to save a few dollars compromises the entire system. Quality oils have better additive packages that protect longer. Quality filters have better media that captures smaller particles. Quality parts fit correctly and last longer. The cost difference is minimal over the life of a vehicle, but the reliability difference is enormous. This is especially true for critical components like timing belts, water pumps, and engine seals. Use quality parts installed correctly at proper intervals. This simple principle prevents the vast majority of premature failures. Listening to your vehicle is a skill Japanese owners develop over time. They know what their car sounds like, feels like, and even smells like under normal operation. When something changes, they notice immediately and investigate. A new squeak, a subtle vibration, a slight hesitation that wasn't there before. These are early warning signs that something needs attention. Most people ignore these subtle changes until they become obvious problems. By then, collateral damage has often occurred. A squeaking belt that gets ignored eventually breaks, potentially causing overheating or loss of power steering. A slight vibration from a wheel bearing that gets ignored eventually fails catastrophically, possibly causing loss of control. The Japanese approach is to investigate every abnormality immediately. This doesn't mean panic. It means paying attention and addressing issues early when they're small and inexpensive. Develop a relationship with your vehicle. Notice changes. Trust your senses. Your car is constantly communicating its condition. If you listen, you'll catch problems before they become catastrophic. This situational awareness combined with regular maintenance creates a powerful synergy that extends life indefinitely. Climate considerations also play a role in the Japanese maintenance philosophy. Extreme heat accelerates fluid breakdown and increases cooling system stress. Extreme cold thickens fluids and makes cold starts harder on the engine. Japanese owners adjust their maintenance accordingly. In hot climates, they change oil more frequently and pay extra attention to cooling system health. In cold climates, they use proper viscosity oils for cold weather and ensure battery and starter are in excellent condition. Now, they also understand that short trips in cold weather are the hardest on engines because the engine never fully warms up, which means condensation accumulates in the oil and combustion is less efficient. If you primarily make short trips in cold weather, you need more frequent oil changes to remove moisture contamination. These adjustments, based on operating conditions, demonstrate sophisticated understanding of how environment affects mechanical systems. One-size-fits-all maintenance schedules don't account for your specific situation. The Japanese approach is to understand your vehicle's operating environment and adjust maintenance intensity accordingly. This customization based on actual conditions rather than generic recommendations is what separates adequate maintenance from excellence. The final piece of the Japanese trick is patience and long-term thinking. Americans often view cars as disposable commodities with 3 to 5 year lifespans before trading for something newer. Japanese owners view vehicles as long-term investments worthy of care and respect. This mindset shift changes everything. When you plan to keep a vehicle for 15 or 20 years, spending money on preventative maintenance makes perfect sense. When you plan to trade in 5 years, it's tempting to defer maintenance and let the next owner deal with problems. But here's the irony. Vehicles maintained with long-term thinking remain reliable, retain value, and cost less to operate over their lifetime than vehicles maintained minimally and replaced frequently. So the depreciation cost of buying new or newer vehicles every few years far exceeds the maintenance cost of keeping one vehicle excellent indefinitely. Japanese owners understand this math. They buy quality vehicles like Toyota and Lexus that are engineered for longevity, and then they maintain them properly to achieve that potential. The combination of good engineering and excellent maintenance creates vehicles that run 500,000 miles or more without major issues. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's intentional, consistent, preventative care based on understanding how mechanical systems degrade and how to prevent that degradation. So here's what this all means for you and your Toyota or Lexus. If you want to join the 500,000-mile club, you need to adopt this Japanese maintenance philosophy starting today. To change your oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles with quality oil and filter. Service your transmission every 30,000 miles. Flush coolant every 30,000 miles or 2 years. Replace spark plugs every 30,000 to 50,000 miles. Change air and fuel filters regularly. Flush brake fluid every 2 years. Rotate tires every 5,000 miles and maintain proper pressure. Service differential and transfer case every 30,000 miles. Clean battery terminals and inspect electrical systems regularly. Protect the undercarriage from rust, especially in winter climates. Use quality OEM or equivalent parts and fluids. Drive smoothly and allow proper warm-up. Document every service meticulously. Listen to your vehicle and investigate any changes immediately. Adjust maintenance intensity based on your climate and driving conditions. And most importantly, Commit to long-term ownership with the mindset that you're building a relationship with this vehicle that will last decades. This isn't complicated. It's not expensive compared to the alternative of major repairs or replacement. It simply requires consistency, attention, and respect for the engineering marvel that is your vehicle. Toyota and Lexus already build some of the most reliable vehicles on Earth. The Japanese maintenance approach unlocks their full potential, transforming them from reliable into virtually indestructible. That's the trick. That's the secret. Now you know exactly what to do. The question is, will you do it? Your future self at 500,000 miles will thank you for starting today. And look, I get it. It sounds like a lot of work. But think about it this way. Spending an extra hour or two each month on maintenance is nothing compared to spending thousands on repairs or being stuck on the side of the road waiting for a tow truck. Plus, once you get into the rhythm, it becomes second nature. You'll find yourself looking forward to maintenance day because you're taking active control of your vehicle's destiny. There's something deeply satisfying about knowing you've done everything possible to keep your machine running perfectly. You're not hoping it lasts. You're ensuring it lasts. That's real peace of mind right there. And honestly, that's worth more than the money you'll save on repairs. The Japanese owners we've been talking about, they don't maintain their vehicles because they have to. They do it because they genuinely care about their machines. That's the mindset shift that matters most. So if you found this breakdown helpful and you're ready to commit to keeping your Toyota or Lexus running strong for the next decade or beyond, please hit that subscribe button. We upload videos every single week about maintenance, repairs, and everything else automotive. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.